Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So in the Arabic lesson today, I'm going to continue with the Jumla Ismia, which are the ism-based sentences, and there are other ways also to identify Jumla Ismia or the invisible is, and there are some shortcuts for it. So previously we said that in the previous lessons we said that whenever there is a break in the chain, then there is an is over there, and if there are two breaks in the chain, then we consider is in the first break and then ignore the second one. So that was one way of identifying the invisible list. Now there are some other ways also. These are certain shortcuts that which when we see, we know that there is an is after. So the first one for that is that whenever you see an independent pronoun, independent, not the joint version, the independent one, assume that there is a is after this. So what are the independent pronouns we did in the pronouns lesson? Huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna, ana, nahnu. So whenever you see these pronouns in their independent forms, then assume that there is an is or an are after them. So for example, if you see huwa, then say that huwa means he. So we just don't assume it's he, it's he is. Then ana means I, so I am. Antum means you, so you all are. So whenever we see these, we assume that there is an is or an are after them, and we translate them like that. The next a way to identify an is that whenever you see a harf of nasab and its victim, then assume that there is an is or an are after them. So for that you need to know the harf of nasab, which are those inna, anna, ka anna, bi anna, laita, lakinna, lala, and you can watch the video for that if you don't know them. So whenever we see the harf of nasab inna, and then you see innal muttaqina ina, and this changed into a nasab. So whenever you see this, you put an is or an are after it according to what we need to put. So innal muttaqina, certainly pious, and then are. So certainly the pious are. We are not going to just say innal muttaqina, certainly pious. No, we'll say certainly pious are. So then lakinna is also a harf of nasab. So lakinnal birra, and bir is like goodness. So lakinnal birra, however goodness is. Lakinna means however, and bir means goodness. So however goodness is. So we will not translate lakinnal birra as however goodness. No, however goodness is going to come after this. So this is a second shortcut to recognize that there is an is after is involved. So the first one was that if when you have an independent pronoun, you assume that there is an is and or are after them. And the second one is that whenever you have a harf of nasab and its victim, then you assume that there is an is or are after that. Now the third one is when there are pointers, they are followed by a word without an ul. We did this when we were doing the pointers, that whenever a pointer is followed by an ul, then that is a fragment, and whenever they are not followed by an ul, then that means that it's a sentence and there is an is there. So when the pointers are followed by a word without an ul, then there is an is in between. And what are the pointers? We know haza, hazihi, haulai, that is for the near things. Zalika, tilka, ulaika for the far things. So for example, we have haza hudan. So haza means this, and hudan means guidance. So we won't say this guidance, we will say this is guidance, because there is no al over here. So haza hudan means this is guidance. So whenever we see pointers and the pointers are not followed by the words that have an al with them, then that means that there is a is in between. So now we have done the three reasons how we can recognize. Now the fourth one is that any proper word followed, a proper ism followed by a common, then there will also be an is involved there. So for example, al ustazu means teacher, and al is going to make it proper. Al ustazu, the teacher, and kaimun standing. So the teacher is standing. Al ustazu kaiman, we won't say the teacher standing. No, the teacher is standing. So whenever a proper word is followed by a common word, then we put a is in between. For example, wallahu wasiun. Wallahu, this is the name, this is proper, and wasiun is a common. So when the proper is followed by common, Allah is vast, Allah is wase. So up till now we have seen the four reasons. First of all, whenever the pronouns they are present in their original form, whenever they are present in their original form, they are followed by an is. Whenever the harf of nasab and its victim, it is also followed by an is. Here also is. Whenever we see a pointer without an l, it is followed by an is. And whenever a proper is followed by a common, it is followed by an is. And finally, whenever there is a break in the chain in the isms, which we said that there are two words, they are not connected to one another in any way, in any of the five fragments that we've studied, then that means that there is a break in the chain in the sentence, and there is an is in between. So now we know that how we can recognize the jumla ismiya, how we can recognize the invisible is that if whenever we have the pronouns in their original forms, whenever there is harf of nasab or its victim, it's followed by an is, whenever there is a pointer without an al, and proper, which is followed by a common, there is an is, and break in the chain. So inshallah, in the next video we will do the components of jumla ismiya, what is a jumla ismiya composed of, and we'll go from there. That's all for today. Fi amanullah.